Counting cows. One day on Sodor, Gordon had a big job for Thomas and Percy. These 10 cows need to be delivered to McColl's farm, explained Gordon. Thomas and Percy were keen to get going, but Gordon had to slow them down. Pay attention and keep track of every cow, said Gordon. Thomas and Percy were having too much fun to listen properly. They happily chugged off to McColl's farm. Because he wasn't paying attention, Thomas had to brake suddenly at a stop sign. This bumped the gate on the back of the truck open, and 2 cows jumped off. Thomas didn't realise the problem until they got to McColl's farm. Only 8 cows were on the truck. "Oh no, we're missing 2 cows," said Thomas. "We were having so much fun, we didn't pay attention to the cows," replied Percy. Thomas and Percy had a fun time spotting the missing cows. They soon found them and took them back to the farm. But when they got back to the farm, they discovered even more cows were missing. "Oh no, we're missing 3 cows," groaned Thomas. The engines pretended they were playing hide and seek with the cows. It made spotting them much easier and more fun. They returned the missing cows to the farm, but then they realised the gate locking the field was broken and more cows had escaped. Sandy arrived to fix the gate while Thomas and Percy found the missing cows. This time they moved and sang to attract the cows back. "The gate is all fixed so the cows can come home," smiled Sandy. They counted the cows back into the field. Now all 10 were where they should be. "We paid attention," said Percy. "We played games that helped us pay attention," grinned Thomas. Can you help the engines count their deliveries? Kana has socks to deliver, but how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 socks. Percy is counting some books. There are 1, 2, 3 books. Nia has found some sunglasses. Let's count them too. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 pairs of sunglasses. How many wheelbarrows has Diesel got? 1. Diesel has just 1 wheelbarrow. Perhaps he's helping a gardener. Thomas has guitars to deliver. How many guitars is Thomas taking? 1, 2. There are 2 guitars. The engines are very grateful for your help, I'm sure. Now let's find out about the time Edward was given a very special job. Edward the hero. One day Sir Topham Hatt gave Edward a very special job. He was going to help Harold the helicopter by being a rescue engine. "You'll be Edward the hero," said Thomas, but Edward felt nervous. Edward met Gordon. He was pushing Rocky through Knapford Station. "Gordon is a hero. He's strong and fast. That's what I must be," thought Edward. Then Edward saw Charlie. Charlie looked sad. He was going to collect some children and had forgotten the joke he wanted to tell them. Edward told him a new joke. "Thanks, Edward, you're funny," Charlie chuckled. "Oh dear," Edward sighed. "I'm not a hero, I'm just funny. When I'm with Harold, I must try harder to be a hero." And Edward chugged off. On his way, Edward helped Dowager Hatt with her luggage. "Edward, you're very kind," she said. Edward was glad to be helpful, but he still didn't feel like a hero. When Edward saw Farmer McColl's dog, She looked lost and scared, so Edward was quiet and gentle. The dog jumped into his cab, and Edward returned her to Farmer McColl, who was very pleased. When Edward arrived at the rescue centre, Harold was nowhere to be seen. Edward was very disappointed. "Now I'll never be a hero," he said sadly, and he chuffed away. As he puffed back to Knapford, Edward met Farmer McColl and Charlie. They both shouted, "It's Edward the hero!" Edward was very surprised. Back at Knapford, Dowager Hat called, "Here he is, Edward the hero!" Edward was puzzled. "I'm not a hero. I'm not a really useful engine. I'm not strong or fast." "Edward," boomed Sir Topham Hatt, "you are kind, funny and gentle. That's why you are a hero." Edward beamed from buffer to buffer. Just then Harold flew past. "Come on, old chap, we have work to do," he called. And everyone cheered for the kind blue engine who had been a hero all along. Can you find all 6 differences between these 2 pictures of Thomas and Percy at the harbour? You have just 30 seconds, but if you need more time, just pause the video any time before the timer reaches 0. Keep spotting! And here's where all the differences were. How many did you manage to spot? Oh, very well done. Now it's time for one more story, and James is in trouble. The fastest red engine on Sodor. James is a bright red engine who loves to go fast. One day James zoomed into Knapford Station and screeched to a halt. "Stopping sharply like that is bad for your brakes," said Emily, who was waiting at the station. "I have to brake sharply sometimes, Emily. I'm the fastest red engine on Sodor," replied James. Just then Thomas arrived and said Rosie had been repainted bright red, just like James. James was annoyed that another engine had been painted like him. He was even more annoyed when he found out he had to pull the troublesome trucks that day. On his way to deliver the trucks, James saw Rosie. She really had been painted red. Chugging alongside, he challenged her to a race. "That sounds really fun," said Rosie. James didn't want to have fun, he wanted to win. "1, 2, 3, go!" shouted James. He shot into the lead, but Rosie wasn't far behind. Suddenly a stoplight came on further up the track. Rosie managed to stop easily, but James only just stopped in time. His brakes made a terrible noise. Rosie told him to get them checked at the steamworks. On the way, James decided it was the troublesome truck's fault, and he didn't need his brakes fixed. He didn't spot that he was leaking brake fluid. James soon forgot about his brakes and was happily speeding along. Then there was trouble. James couldn't slow down. James whooshed along the tracks and through stations. He only came to a stop when he crashed into the back wall of the engine sheds. Rosie and Sir Topham Hatt arrived. Sir Topham Hatt was furious and said, "It would have been better to fix your brakes when you had a small problem, before it turned into a much bigger one." "I'm sorry, sir. I should have known another red engine would give good advice," said James. You proved one thing, James. For a while you really were the fastest red engine on Sodor, replied Rosie. Night-night. Were you watching closely? Because I'm going to be asking a few questions about the last two stories you heard. Which engine was the first story about? This engine was given the job of being a rescue engine alongside Harold the helicopter. Was this engine Edward or Gordon? That's right, the answer is Edward. The story was called Edward the Hero. Question 2. What sort of animal had the farmer lost in Edward the Hero? Did he lose a sheep? Or did he lose a dog? That's right, Farmer McColl lost his sheepdog. Question 3. Who is the other red engine in the fastest red engine on Sodor? Was it Rosie or was it Flynn? That's right, Rosie had been repainted red, and James did not like it one bit. That's all for now. See you again soon. Bye-bye. If you liked what you heard, please consider leaving a like below as well as commenting and subscribing. And you can also press the bell next to the subscribe button so that you never miss a video. See you again soon. Bye.